Welcome to Ladies of Another View. I'm Beck, and I'm joined today with Carmen and Jan.
Hello.
And what a show we have today. We're going to be talking about the 52nd Annual International Powwow. But first, there's a movie coming out called Life Mark, and it portrays the actual life story of David Scotton. He's an attorney in New Orleans, Louisiana area. He was minutes away from losing his life. Instead, his mom left the abortion clinic. He was adopted, and this was made into just an amazing movie, as you're going to see. We're going to watch a clip, and then we're going to have him come on to the show.
Are you okay with people knowing that you're adopted?
Yes. Mostly. Not really.
Do you remember asking to see that when you were about 8 years old?
How old were they?
I think she was 18, and he was 17.
I honestly had no idea that this many people were wanting to adopt.
Imagine how scared she must have been. She was pregnant when she graduated, and then the decision to place you for adoption.
God, if you're there, please protect him and watch over him.
There's a birth mother on the line with a question for you.
It must have been the hardest decision of her entire life.
Hello?
But she loved you, and I'm so glad that she made the choice that she did.
I've always wondered if my biological parents think about me.
Today's David's 18th birthday.
You want to talk to him?
I don't think he'd want to talk to me.
There's only one way to find out.
I guess maybe I didn't want to feel different.
You didn't want to be an idiot.
I didn't want to be different.
Okay, good. That's a lot better.
God gave you to me and Mom as a gift, and you will always be our son.
Is that your birth mom?
She wants to meet.
Really?
Yeah.
This is huge! Hey, what's up, Emily? How's it going?
That's Elizabeth.
Welcome to the show, David Scotton. Thank you for being on today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor.
We've all seen the movie, and let me tell you, I thought, okay, it's going to be nice, but it's going to be predictable. No. Oh my gosh, you laugh, you cry. I can't highly recommend this movie enough, and it's about your life. That's amazing.
We are so excited. This movie, Life Mark, is going to impact millions of people in the beauty of adoption, and we're just humbled and excited to be a part of it.
That is awesome. Can you tell us just a little bit about your story without a spoiler too much for the film? But
yeah, absolutely. So I grew up. I'm an adopted child. My birth parents almost made another decision that wouldn't have allowed me to be here today, and thankfully they didn't. They chose adoption, and they placed me for adoption to my parents, Jimmy and Susan Scotton, in New Orleans. And 18 years later, I had the honor to meet them and say thank you. Thank you for leaving that clinic. Thank you for choosing adoption. Thank you for allowing me to have the life that I have today. And that was filmed into the documentary I Lived on Parker Avenue. And we shared that documentary for a few years around the country. And thankfully, it reached Kirk Cameron. And Kirk Cameron called me one day and said, David, this is such a powerful story. This has to be a full-length movie. And so here we are with this exciting movie called Life Mark that shows our story. It's inspired by our story. And it is just so exciting to see it in the big theater.
I was really pleased to see the movie. I too have some storylines that would parallel along the way with adoption in my own life. And it's really kind of cool to see that somebody else had some of the same feelings that I did. Like, are you ashamed to be adopted? Well, no. Well, sort of. Well, maybe. That type of thing. I think that there's a lot of people that are going to identify with this, whether they were adopted from birth or they became part of a blended family. Would you agree?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And what's so powerful about this movie and the documentary itself is that it shows adoption from all three perspectives. It shows it from the adoptee side, shows it from the birth parent side, the birth mother and the birth father, and it shows it from the adoptive parent side. And you see what David goes through in the movie, and you see him questioning whether, is this the right decision? You know, I'm just so thankful for her. But he's nervous at the same time because it's opening himself up to uncertainty. And you see Melissa's emotions. You know, you see her visibly grasp of a decision even 2 decades later. And you see the emotions of the adoptive parents who are so supportive and loving, but also nervous themselves, right? Because this is their son going and meeting their birth parents. So it's such a valuable resource to have, to show the beauty of adoption, show the positive of it, but also show the negative of it, because it is not a perfect solution, but it is a beautiful solution that allows someone to have life and allows a family to have a family.
Absolutely. It's not a perfect solution, but it's a better solution. And you realize how powerful it is, because as people are looking at you standing there in front of them, your birth father, your birth mother, and realizing, oh my gosh, because at the moment of the stress and being afraid, it's easy to make that decision to end a life. But at the same time, to 18 years later, look at you and realize, oh my gosh, you wouldn't be here. So what I love about this is, oftentimes you see these unification stories, or reunification, I should say, and it's a short little clip, maybe it's 2 minutes, but you don't ever really get to go deep into the different angles. And so let's talk about your angle. You knew you had adoptive parents, or you knew you had biological parents out there. Before they contacted you, what kind of emotions did you have growing up, knowing that your kids lived with their parents, but you had some other parents somewhere?
Right. So my parents were very open with the fact that I was adopted. We celebrated it every year. We had adoption day in August. It was like a second birthday for me. My grandparents would go and they'd get a birthday card and they'd scratch out birthday and they'd put adoption day. So it was something we really cherished and talked about openly in the house. But I really didn't want people to know that I was adopted. There was something about it that made me feel different, made me feel like I didn't fit in. And that was most common in school. You know, when classmates would find out that I was adopted, you know, their first questions to me were, well, who's your real mom, or who's your real dad? And those questions being asked to an adoptee really affects them in ways that most people don't understand. And it was so frustrating to me, because my true mom and my true dad, or my real mom, my real dad, are my adoptive parents, Jimmy and Susan Scotton. And they are very different than my biological mother and my biological father. So I grew up with these questions. I grew up with people not understanding the adoption option, and because it's a little stigmatized. And so I think it's important to talk about it. And this is a really great opportunity to show what adoption is. So as much as I didn't really want people to know, ultimately, you know, people would find out and they get those questions. And I'll never forget, one girl found out and in front of all of my classmates said, "So you're an orphan?" And I'll never forget that. And it wasn't the fact that she called me an orphan. It was the fact that she didn't understand adoption. And that's what I've tried to do. I've been sharing this story now for 11 years. I first shared it in 2011. And I wanted to reclaim the beauty of adoption. And I think we started to do that with the documentary. And so I really hope and believe that LifeMark will continue that mission.
You know, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think about stories that I heard as a young adult, probably and into my adulthood, where it would be where a girl wound up getting pregnant and she would go away for whatever reason, and then suddenly her aunt in Wisconsin had a baby. And it was that the girl gave the baby to the aunt because the parents would be shamed if the girl had had this baby out of wedlock. Mm-hmm. And so in that regard, I think adoption started to get a bad name as far as, oh, it was an illegitimate baby. And so, you know, and now the illegitimacy part has been so forgotten in our society, it's not even a thing. But I think it got a stigma going with adoption that maybe carried through, because we haven't heard enough from adoptees and adoptive parents of the life-changing thing that it is and how beautiful it can be. Is that where you think?
And I couldn't agree with you more. And that was a big part of my birth father's struggle with the adoption decision. To him, you know, originally he wasn't for placing me for adoption because the perception of adoption was that it was not a good solution, that it was giving up your baby. And he thought that would have been worse than an abortion. And thankfully they ended up making the other decision. But, you know, he struggled with that for 2 decades. And when we first met, it was the same thing for my birth mother, Melissa. You visibly saw them have a sigh of relief when I had the opportunity to say, no, I don't hate you at all. I've loved you every day for your decision. they were so concerned about me hating them, and that couldn't be any further from the truth.
Welcome back to Ladies of Another View. I'm Beck, and I want to welcome back David Scotton, whose real life story about almost not making it but being adopted is told in LifeMark the movie. It's across the country. I want to tell people to go to that website, lifemark.com. And when you go to the website, you go to lifemarkmovie.com. When you go there, you can put in your town and your zip code, and it's going to show you where the nearest movie is. Here in North Dakota, it's going to be at Minot. It's going to be at a couple different theaters in Fargo. But I know we have people across the country that watch, so definitely go to lifemarkmovie.com. You are not going to want to miss it. It is so much fun, and I'm going to show you one of my favorite clips because David had a good friend that took his iPhone out and created this documentary. So he accompanied him on the journey, meeting his birth parents and just his reaction. So here's a fun little clip.
Hey, did you get some good stuff? Incredible. This is the best day I've ever photographed. Oh, cool.
You know, I guess since you're the official videographer, that means you have to, like, film everything, right?
Yeah, duh.
Good. Then you're coming skydiving with us.
No. Nate is not jumping. That won't happen. Never. Ever.
No! Jump, Nick! Just jump! I don't want to jump! Why are you my friend? Why are you my
So I love that clip because I did skydive once in another life, not in a million years now. And I checked with you. You said that really did happen. You really did skydive.
It really
with
did happen.
Your mom.
We met my birth mother for the first time when I was 18. We showed up to her house and we start talking a little bit, and we kind of hear all about her story so many years before. And before we leave, she asked me if I can do one thing with her, and it was if I'd go skydiving with her. And she had never been, I had never been. She wanted to do something memorable with me. And so sure enough, we went skydiving. And I got to say, I'm not sure that I would do it again, but I'm glad that we have that memory together.
Wow, that is powerful, man.
And that is such a bonding thing. It's like, we could live or die today, and we got to know each other. That's great, and we got to have adventure, but I would have been scared. I would have never done it, but that's not.
But perfect for a movie.
Yeah.
When Kirk Cameron was making the movie, it's like, this is the type of thing you make up, but they didn't have to. You guys actually did this.
Right.
That is so cool.
Right. Yeah.
If there's ever a movie inspired by a true story, this is it.
Right.
And how close to everything that happened? Were you a consultant in the movie? Were they real careful to keep it true to life?
Kirk Cameron and the Kendrick brothers did a fantastic job making sure this was a true story, inspired by a true story. They consulted me about every day on different aspects of the production, to the point where Kirk would call me and say, hey, does your dad tuck his shirt in, or does he have his shirt out? So they were really close to the true story, and that meant the world to us, to be included and for them to believe in our story so much that they put so much effort into keeping it true.
So how did they contact you in the beginning? Had they seen your documentary, or how did that come to pass?
So my mom and I spoke in Fallbrook, California a few years ago after the release of the documentary, and we were sharing our story. And thankfully someone there, I still don't know who it was, but someone there knew Kirk and sent him the documentary later that week. And Kirk didn't watch it at first. He gets sent so many different things. And so thankfully his wife, Chelsea, was there and said, Kirk, this one you really got to watch. And so she made Kirk sit down and watch it. And he was sitting in his kitchen starting crying, and he realized how powerful of a story this is. And so then he reached out to me. I remember leaving a law school class. This was a few years ago. And it was a California number. I didn't know who it was, but I answered it. And he says, hey. And I go, hey, who's this? And he says, it's Kirk Cameron. And I go, oh, hey, how are you? And he says, David, I saw your documentary. I know this is random, but I just got to ask. I mean, this has got to be a full-length movie. How can we make that happen? And so he got the Kendrick brothers involved, and then I connected him with my birth parents, and my family, and it started the whole process. So I'm thankful for Chelsea, and I'm thankful for Kirk as well.
Wow,
Yeah.
and thanking God. I
Yes.
mean, God was such
Absolutely.
a big part of your whole life for all of you, it sounded like from the film, you know. But I just wondered now, once you've gone through all this and now you've got the film and everything, how much contact do you have with your birth parents these days?
Yeah.
Are you still in contact quite a bit?
Yeah, so I saw her a few minutes ago, actually. We're both here in DC for the premiere. So, you know, we spent a week in Indiana when we met for the first time. And then my birth mother and her family actually came down to New Orleans where we live, and they spent a few days with us. So we got to see what their lives were like. They got to see what our lives were like. And then we keep in touch mostly by Facebook messaging and text messaging. And we've actually, this has been really exciting. You know, I speak pretty often, and we've had several opportunities to speak together. So at some events, you know, my birth mother and I will speak together. And so we've actually crossed paths numerous times. And we're both here for this exciting movie.
I want to point out to people if they want to go to your website, because you are a speaker and as well as a lawyer, and I know you're involved in the adoption mission to encourage adoptions. But your website to learn more about you is David Scotton, Scotton, like cotton.com. So people should definitely check that out. Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sorry, you were going to say something?
No, I actually, you know, I'm a full-time lawyer now, so I speak as much as I can, but I've been really excited to actually do my first adoption a few months ago. So that was full circle for me to, you know, be adopted and go through these emotions and experiences and then actually perform an adoption for someone else. It was one of the most humbling experiences of my entire life.
Can I ask you, we don't have much, but what can mothers who are thinking about maybe they want to place a baby for adoption, or adoptive parents that would love to adopt, are you connected to some of that throughout the nation? Can you give our viewers a little step on where to go to start that process?
Yeah, so it's really a state-by-state process because adoption laws are so different. But, you know, I was adopted through the law firm in Indiana, Kirsch & Kirsch. And so there's law firms and adoption agencies all around. St. Elizabeth's is a great adoption agency in the Louisiana area. And lifemarkmovie.com is actually going to have resources for people who see the movie and feel a calling for adoption or a calling to just share the message. So we're actually going to have links to resources for exactly that. So I hope that someone will go see the movie, and then, man, if they can choose adoption because of our movie, that would just be amazing. And we're thankful there's going to be resources online for people to do exactly that.
Anybody who sees the movie is going to be powerfully impacted. I want to thank you for your role in this. And I mean, you've gone the extra mile and done everything you can to get this message out there and really shared your life up. Not knowing, I mean, you were vulnerable, but you shared your life with everybody. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you so much. That means a lot.
So don't
I'm just glad
miss
to be a part of it.
Oh, absolutely.
We are glad too. It's such an amazing movie, and I don't want anybody to miss it. Lifemarkmovie.com. You can go to find out where it is in your area. So thank you, David. God bless you, and enjoy the movie. I know you're going to the premiere.
Thanks for having me.